Hey YouTube, I've got the Monarch lathe put back together. I'll be showing that in an upcoming video, how we got all the parts back in there, and it was a frustrating job. I knew it would be, but it is back together, it's working properly. So another thing that has been on my to-do list since I brought the machine home was to get this steady rest in usable condition. So I don't know when the last time this was used. Obviously it wasn't repainted to match the lathe for whatever reason. Maybe it came along afterward, I'm not sure. But this is what Monarch called the high-speed steady rest. So the regular or standard steady rest, I think is what it's called in the book, has got brass tips or bronze tips. And then this one's got roller bearings. So these are pretty much gummed up completely. I took one apart so that I could find a part number for it and see what I needed for replacements. And cleaning it, it made it to where it can move. But I'm not going to go through all this hassle just to have to replace these in 5 uses. These are new departure bearings, so they're pretty old. New departure's been gone for a while. But anyway, so that one arm is already cleaned up. The other two are just removed. And then we've got this thing kind of broken down to just the castings essentially. So I think what we're gonna do is go ahead and clean it. Just get all the dirt and everything off it. And then we'll use some citrus strip to start getting the paint removed. And once that's done, we'll wire brush, wire wheel anything else that's not on there. And if there's any big defects in the casting or anything, then we'll take the time to Bondo those up and just to make it look nicer. I mean, steady rest isn't going to get used a ton. I don't machine shafts all the time, but I do want it to be usable at a moment's notice, essentially. Another part of this project is going to be making a stud and bottom clamp plate. So this was missing. I'm sure it got thrown out at some point with all the junk in the guy's house that I bought the machine from. So we'll have to figure out exactly how we want to make that clamp and how thick it needs to be and whatever else. And then I think I'll follow the pattern I used on my LeBlond when I made that clamp. And just do a piece of steel on the bottom, and then I bought all thread that time. I may just make it from a brand new piece of material. Turned off all of the threads most of the way up, and then just left the threads on the top. So the rod or the screw was welded to the base plate. So it was just one less thing to be messing around with, hopefully. But yeah, that's the plan. So let me grab I think we'll just use a waterless wipe to clean the dirt up, and then I'll grab the citrus strip and we'll get it, give that stuff a chance to start doing its thing. I've got some plastic wrap here to wrap it up so that it doesn't evaporate too quick. So let's get dirty. So what I'm going to use to clean this up is just one or two of these waterless wipes. So these are Wipe All from Kimberly-Clark. Waterless cleaning wipes. There's 75 in a tub. You may not have noticed, but Adam Booth uses these. I have another tub that I use with my Cool Mist. So the coolant is in there. Adam does the exact same thing. That's where I got the idea. But if you don't have a sink in your shop, these are just fantastic to have around. The good thing about these versus the scrubs in a bucket, and I think I've shared my pleasure, or whatever you want to say, with the scrubs in a bucket before. The problem is those are alcohol based, what makes them wet. And once the alcohol evaporates, so if you leave the container open, they can dry out and then they're garbage. These can actually be re-wet because it's a water-based wettener. I don't know exactly what that stuff's called. I've been told before, but anyway, whatever makes these things work is water-based. So you can just spray a little bit of water on one, and you're good to go again. Just as useful. So anyway, highly recommended. So the idea here is just to get any grease and dirt off of this thing, so that the citrus strip can get down to the actual paint and work on it. This is just to save us some effort. It's not meant to rely solely on the citrus strip or anything. All right, should be fine for a start. So here's what I really like about these things. As nasty as that thing got, my hands didn't grab all of it. So my hands are a little bit dirty, but not, if you're using a rag and some degreaser or something, you'd get it all over you. This thing does a really good job of trapping the dirt and oil. So let's get some plastic under this. Okay, got a chip brush and my citrus strip. And we will just spread this around in a thick-ish coat. I think we'll call it good for now. May have to do another coat depending on how tough this is. The primer or previous color, the gray underneath, may be tougher, so it may just pull off the green, and then I've got to do another coat to get rid of the gray. We'll see. That should be sufficiently overkill. So while that is working, I think what we'll do is go over to the wire wheel and start cleaning these things up. Actually, I guess before that, we need to take them apart. Grab some tools. I think probably just leave this together for now. I may take it apart later if I decide I want this completely 100% perfect. There's just a pin holding this together. But for now, I think we'll just clean it as is. This one just needs to come all the way out. And maybe if I decide to go crazy, I can buy new knobs and put new knobs on this thing. They're not in super bad condition, but they also have a bunch of burrs and stuff on them, so probably would be a lot nicer to have new handles. Okay. These nuts and washers off. Here's my pile that needs to be cleaned. And then, let's see, I can't remember how I took things apart before. Let's use a pick to clean out the grease in here. Pull out this set screw. Oh, gross. Kind of wet in there. Okay, I think that's all it's going to take, and then we'll go over to the arbor press and press out these shafts and get the rollers off of out of the assembly. I don't think this should be eventful at all. It certainly wasn't on the first one. Oops. Come on. There we go. Okay, greasy pin. It's always good. No drama. Yeah, pretty filthy in there though. Now with those pins out, oh, I'm able to sling the shields out. So this is just a shielded bearing, not a rubber sealed one. And then what they did was use two almost like Bellevue washers. Maybe that's exactly what they are, I don't know. On either side to keep chips out and dust. Seems to work, I guess. Bearing will turn into a hydraulic press tool. Same thing, this one wasn't as sticky. And there's our other pair of washers. And I kind of like the design on this. So in order to also help keep chips out, they've got this spring steel kind of guard on there. And that's just held on with a couple of little screws to cover the back of the bearing, you know, or the bottom of it, I guess you could say. I would imagine that works pretty effectively, because when the bearing is in there, you know, there's really not much room for chips to get in. And then of course the sides are protected too. So it seems like this is a very solid design. Interesting to think about. I don't see any evidence for this thing ever having been taken apart completely. Maybe the bearings aren't original, but I doubt I'm the second one to care about getting this thing all shiny and clean. So it's like these screws here were probably put in by a Monarch employee in the 1950s. And he was using a screwdriver just like I am and working and making a paycheck, and I don't know, something cool about that to me. There's that. Gross. Okay, I think all the parts are taken apart. So now I guess we'll go over to the wire wheel and start cleaning off all the rust and nastiness. Although I guess, you know what I could do is go ahead and just dump these. I've got a bucket of Evapo rust, just waiting for a job to do. So why don't I stick them in there first, even if it's only in there for an hour or something. It's going to loosen things up. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. This is a nice sealable bucket, so it's got a nice O-ring fit there to keep this stuff from evaporating. And I think I'm just going to put these guys straight in there. And then the rest of the parts, just going to put in my little plastic mixing cup. And we'll just fill that up and let it sink. Make it a lot easier to get the parts back out. Okay, so while that is doing its thing, I guess we'll unwrap the castings of the steady rest and start getting that paint and dust removed. Yeah, this is a Leak-Tite brand. It's got it at Home Depot. gross. It's been a lot of work, but I think it's in pretty good shape. So I took my little Scotch-Brite deburring wheel and just kind of polished the bare metal. I think I'll just paint over these lugs. I'm assuming those are just the stems from casting, and they don't try to machine them flat for whatever reason. But these are nice and smooth, so shouldn't get any binding on the adjusting nut or anything. And then kind of polished up the glide area, whatever you want to call that. Let's see how these things fit now. They did not move freely at all when I got the lathe. Uh-oh. Yeah, I was wondering while I was working if these were matched, like if they had a, yeah, they must be. So this one lives in, there's like zero wiggle there, so I'm guessing that's where he's supposed to be. Yeah, that's nice. Very nice. Let's see how it fits in this one. Fits in there, but it's tighter. So yeah, I'm betting they're married to one slot. Looking a whole lot better. And I think I'll do a little bit more smoothing on this paint just to get it nice and level, just with some, 400 or 600 grit sandpaper or something like that. And then I think we'll just paint right on top of this gray, and there are a few places where I didn't get all of the green off with the citrus strip. but it doesn't need to be perfect. I was thinking about it, and it'd be fun to make it showroom clean and gorgeous with Bondo everywhere and whatever else, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think I want to go through all that effort. It'll definitely look nice when I'm done. It just won't be like a show car, because it doesn't need to be. What's the point? Yeah, so I think we're moving down the road. The next thing is going to be to fish the parts out of the evapor rust and get them cleaned up the rest of the way. And then we're going to have painting to do, and that's the nice thing. This is super simple, so it's not like there's very many parts or all that much to do other than a lot of surface area to clean and de-rust. But there's very few parts to this whole mechanism. I'm happy with it so far.